Okay, Thursday edition of the After Show. Got Wake and Justice with you. Wake over here on the East Coast.
And Justice over here on the west coast of the contiguous United States of America. It is, thank God it's Giovedi.
Yeah.
And that's what we call Thursday because we honor the great God Joe because, well, Thursday is truly the gateway to the weekend.
Heck yeah.
Everyone knows that.
Heck yeah.
Hey, Wink, how are you doing?
Not bad, not bad. It is 49 degrees here and going up to around 54, 55. That's and it's kind of gloomy out there, kind of overcast, yada yada. But it's April, so gonna get that kind of day. Mind to get in the chat. Just go to netrootsradio.com. Scroll down the bottom of the page, and on the right hand side of the bottom of the page, there is a link to the chat. So click that. Join us there.
And to the leftish of the chat room link, placed by no motivation of political ideology on the leftish side of the page. Yeah. Just, I don't know, happened to be there. But it's on the leftish. And that would be the contribute donate buttons. We are upgrading our hardware and software, and your generosity is much appreciated. So thank you. Yes. Wink, here along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon. It is currently 43 degrees. Will be, looks like we're going to go to a high of 60. Oh, my.
Okay.
Sounds quite nice. Yeah. A low of 38 tonight, though. Yeah. Now, it says right here, right now, it says that there is a 40% chance of precipitation. But I'm looking out my window. It looks like 100% to me.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yep.
And then it says rain possible after 11 a.m. my time. Right. Which is, 3 hours. And I don't know. I guess maybe it's 11 a.m. somewhere in the world because it's raining here.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, happy 420.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. You forgot? Well, it's April 20th. It's 420. This is the cannabis celebration. Yes. So. Or as they say somewhere, or used to say quite a bit, it's called bake and shake.
Yeah. Well, back in the day. Yeah.
I have no time for shaking.
There you go.
Whatever that means. Yes, let's see. London is 57 with scattered clouds. Paris is 54 and clear. Rome is 59, partly cloudy. They do have a wind advisory, by the way, there. New York is, looks like it's going to 54 degrees and overcast. San Francisco is 56 and clear. Los Angeles, it's 60 and clear. Dallas, Texas, 70, almost 74 wink and overcast.
Yeah.
Sounds humid to me.
Yep.
And Kansas City, Missouri, 59 with scattered clouds. So that is your weather roundup for 420. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because of the way the time zones are, it's like 420 somewhere in the world much earlier than it is here. And so, I don't know. You can start early, or you can start when it starts. Whenever 420 begins in somewhere in the world, that's when you start, Wink.
Right.
Everybody does. That's in the know. Boy, Wink, we're still alive. We are not burned to a nuclear crisp yet.
Right.
And once again, I've got to keep reminding people, North Korea doesn't need an ICBM to nuke the west coast of the United States. He can blow up Seoul and kill 10 million people. And how many troops do we have there, Wink? U.S. troops, several thousand?
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
I mean, it might even be 23,000. Is that the number I heard?
Yep.
Regardless, they can just hit Seoul with 10 million Koreans and everybody else, like, military personnel from the United States, with artillery. Just regular artillery, field weapons.
No question. No problem.
Mortars and cannons. They can do it. I mean, it seems, you can't, 10 million people. They can do it. They don't need a nuke.
No.
So I don't know. The black guy had to be Superman, Wink. Did you notice that? He was Superman. Intelligent, thoughtful, reserved, analytical, great power in, the strong silent type in many ways. But I guess that just couldn't be trusted, so we had to get the dimwit rich white guy. And, he's, we got to kiss his ring. But the Superman black guy wasn't one of us, Wink.
Right.
Apparently because he was such a Superman, and the rest of us are a bunch of dimwits.
There you go.
Jesus, maybe that's what it was. Well, let's get on to the issues that we are attending to today. And they are a recently released study shows about 51,000 people are injured annually by the police. Wow. Sounds like a growth industry to me, Wink. We should invest.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court orders refunds for people whose criminal convictions are overturned. Yeah, the state of Colorado said, we wrongly convicted these people, but, we got the money before they were found innocent. We get to keep the cash.
Right.
What? And, fate of fates, the judge who Trump criticized for being Mexican is selected to determine the fate of the deported dreamer. Yeah, apparently, still this kid, Montes, is considered to be the first DACA recipient to be deported. And it looks like ICE and DHS altered his documents so they could do it. Nice, isn't it? Oh, on the last half, this is breaking news. We're going to report that the FBI has been investigating Russia's ties to Trump campaign advisor Carter Page since 2013. A bit earlier than we thought. So I just want to say when and we've said it here ourselves, is that there may turn out to be nothing there with the Russian thing, right? But I would argue there's always been a there. And that's because Trump has been doing business with Russian mobsters since at least the late 80s. So there has to be a there. And now it's,
Yeah,
Oh,
but the 2013 thing, that's like, 2-3 years before the election? I mean, they were already planning this election 3 years ago for the Trumpsters?
No. No, you don't understand. They're turning assets for any number of reasons, Wink. They had no idea he was going to be on the, then they ramp it up as this report shows.
Yeah.
And that's when the FBI started ramping up their investigation into him as well. That's how a FISA warrant is issued.
Right.
Now let's remind ourselves once again, you don't just go in and say, hey, we think we got something on this guy, and it's like Law and Order, and they go, make sure I got something good, and they come back and go, oh, well, this is good, and no, it's a much more difficult process to get a FISA warrant. It's not something that's just done willy-nilly.
Right. There
was enough concern, and I just want to say, we're only hearing about Carter Page.
Right.
Because isn't this how the FBI works? They're trying to get somebody else. And that usually that somebody else is somebody who's like, above Carter Page.
There you go.
But we're going to finish up with the last half that Vladimir Putin really doesn't want anyone to mark the revolution part of the Russian Revolution centenary. It's 100 years since the Russian Revolution. But don't remind people it was a revolution. Because that's kind of nasty. Revolutions are nasty. It's not orderly. Nah. Well, all that, plus the Connect, Unite, Act, Daily Codes, community, calendar, and more on the after show with that ever so fine fellow with his East Coastal elitism and his name is Wink. And this guy back over here on the West Coast, and you think it's West Coast elitism, but it's just a general, all-encompassing, boorish elitism.
Yeah.
And my name is Justice. And we do this 5 days a week for an hour-ish in this particular specific and peculiar tear in the fabric of space-time. Because who loves you, baby?
There you go.
Ooh. Yeah, part of being, a true coastal elite. See, this is, I think this is the part they hate the most, is that we're willing to be self-reflective and admit our mistakes. And the other side, if they admit a mistake, it's like their whole world crashes down around them. Oh no, I have no place in the world. I have admitted a mistake. Oh, I'm weak. Oh. Where we look at that as, in some ways, a strength. Though I must say it's not held around the world. I've been in other, European cultures, shall we say, Western European cultures, and
Right.
You don't admit a mistake.
There you go.
It's like our equivalent of saving face. But in America, we're all about confession and renewal. Damn it. That's what makes us exceptional.
Yeah.
Jeez. God. Okay. 51,000 people are injured annually by police. I don't know. There's all sorts of side business you can get in here. I mean, the ambulances have to take him to the hospital. People got to check them out. People got to run the paperwork. I don't know. Maybe you might even have to pave a road to make sure that there's one from the arrest to the hospital.
Right.
Jeez. Well, this is by Newsweek, out of Newsweek by Nathan DiCamillo, or Camillo. A video that surfaced last Friday of two Georgia police officers punching and then kicking the head of a man under arrest may seem like just the latest in a recent spate of possible police brutality cases. But a new study led by Dr. Eleanor Kaufman of New York Presbyterian Hospital Weill Cornell Medical Center. Boy, that's a real mouthful. Okay. Cornell Medical Center suggests that the issue has been a consistent phenomenon well before social media and YouTube brought such violent encounters to wide attention. I don't know. They made a lot of movies in the 60s about chain gangs where this stuff happened a lot.
Right.
So I wouldn't say, that's scary. The article starts off as if this is just presumed to be a new phenomena by our society, our population. When I'm thinking, what? Cop beating the crap out of somebody? When has that never happened? Okay. But it hasn't been codified in a way that we can get actual hard numbers here, Wink. This is interesting. Kaufman and her colleagues, I just love how this science is set up. It's to me, this is inspiring. Kaufman and her colleagues use data on emergency department visits from the nationwide emergency department sample. Well, we're going to have to get rid of that metric, Wink. Get rid of that.
Right.
If people know how many numbers are happening, then we might have to do something about it. We want to keep doing what we're doing. Well, you think I'm kidding? This is how they're talking right now. I'm almost afraid to mention this report. This whole thing is going to be shut down now.
Right.
Okay, so with little change from 2006 to 2012, the researchers found that about 51,000 Americans were injured each year in encounters with the police. Okay. These other numbers, I mean, these are numbers that actually we anecdotally, I mean, we wouldn't give the actual numbers, but we go, yeah, there's a lot of guys in their young 30s that get the crap beat out of them by the cops. You go, yeah, isn't that weird? And then here's the study. Around 85% of the patients were male, and the average age of the injured person was 32.
Yeah.
Most of the injuries were from being struck. Like I said, having the crap beat out of you. Gunshot and stab wounds made up fewer than 7% of the injuries, and the majority of the cases involved injuries that required no operations. Bumps, bruises, or lacerations that didn't require treatment beyond stitches. Non-fatal injuries were more common in the South and West, and less common in the Northeast and Midwest. Wow, the South and the West, they like to beat the crap out of you. Now, they say non-fatal injuries. So does that mean that in the Northeast and Midwest, they're more fatal? I wonder what that means. Okay, I see. Even though non-fatal injuries are more common, they receive less attention. We know that you're not going to improve something if you haven't counted it. So even the non-fatal injuries, oh, well, he just bounced his head across the pavement. Concussion symptoms won't show up for, I don't know, another, 30, 32 hours, and they're home by then. So we don't need to count it. This information is critical to informing the public conversation about police brutality, says Sandro Galea, professor of epidemiology at Columbia University's Mailman School of Public Health. Huh. Data should be collected regularly, but these analyses are few and far between, in no small part because of limitation in research. Gun violence research, including incidents involving police, has been made more difficult by the Dickey Amendment. Remember that one, Wink? A provision pushed by the NRA and passed in 1996 that limits the CDC from researching gun violence. If we know about it, Wink, we might have to be forced to do something about it.
Right.
And we like the way it is now. Doesn't sound like, I don't know. Doesn't sound American to me. Sounds like something else. Social media has helped amplify incidences of police brutality in recent years. That's why they want to shut it down, Wink. Damn social media. Capturing violent altercations that are widely shared on platforms such as Facebook and Twitter.
Right.
Then they go on to give us the litany of all of them, from Eric Garner all the way to this poor fellow cuffed in the middle of the street with his head being bashed in. And I'm sorry, but it was described as there was blood splattered everywhere. By the people standing nearby filming it on their phones. The study does not identify the race or ethnicity of the patients or where the patients live to a finer degree than region. It also doesn't distinguish between intentional or accidental injury. Oh, the guy fell on his head with his hands kept behind his back. He tripped. Oops. Those kinds of accidents. In the future, says Delgado, the researchers want to get specific data and results on the effects of community intervention on policing outcomes. Well, we already know how that works. Bill O'Reilly doesn't have a job because of what I guess you would call community intervention.
Right.
This is why they don't want any of these numbers tabulated. Because when the people that they're supposed to protect and serve, I think what it means, protect us from the enemy, who are the United States citizens, and serve our masters, which are paying us to be Praetorian guards. You got to read the fine print.
Yeah.
Man. Well, I joke about accidental. I mean, obviously accidental injuries do occur in the course of an arrest, but this particular study doesn't take into account whether it was intentional, meaning the cops beat the crap out of the guy and, whatever, or the person actually, bumped their head against the top of the police car when they're going in.
Right.
You always see when they're taking your head down, they kind of, they push it down to your waist, actually. It's like, I'd much rather hit my head on the top of the police car than for you to bend me forward like you're doing. I know. I've had it done to me. Not for anything bad.
Right.
Just trying to stop a war. Things like that. Okay. Supreme Court orders refunds. Okay. I want my refund. This is out of the Tribune Washington Bureau by David G. Savage. People who are freed from prison when their convictions are reversed deserve a refund of what they paid in fees, court costs, and restitution. What about in the commissary? Can you get that back? Man. Or at least the difference between what it would cost out, in the world versus when you're in stir. Because it's always more when you're in stir. Especially what they pay you there. Man, it's almost like slave labor, Wink.
Right.
And then they make you pay for your candy bars. What kind of slave labor is that?
It's not a bad deal.
bad deal for the person who's collecting, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that commie justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that they are entitled to be presumed innocent once their convictions are thrown out, and the state has zero claim to their money. What a commie. How dare she? The 7-1 decision orders the state of Colorado to refund several $1,000s to 2 defendants, a man and a woman, who were convicted of sex crimes but had their convictions reversed. Sharon Nelson, who was charged with abusing her children, was acquitted in a retrial, and the prostitution-related charges against Lewis Madden were dropped. In both instances, the state insisted on keeping the restitution they had paid. Well, what Ginsburg, I jokingly referenced, is that we're moving into the European model, which is that you have to prove your innocence rather than the state proving your guilt. The state looks at an arrest as a presumption of guilt. And you go from there, and then you have to go in and prove that you're innocent. Our model was changed. That's why I think it's called the American Revolution. Oh, yeah, don't pay attention to the revolution part, Wink. Don't. Putin won't like it. We'll talk about that later. But the presumption of innocence is a bedrock of what it means to be in a representative democracy that we constructed. Yeah, I know, out of whole cloth, because, paper back then was, really was like cloth. Okay, UCLA law professor Stuart Banner and the UCLA Supreme Court Clinic appealed the case of Nelson v. Colorado to the High Court last year, noting that Colorado was the only state that regularly refused to refund money taken from criminal defendants who were later exonerated. Arguing the case in January, Banner said that as a matter of common sense and long legal tradition, people who were exonerated had a right to get back the money that was taken from them. The state's lawyer raised eyebrows among the justices by arguing that the money in question was the state's money because it was obtained pursuant to a conviction, which is somewhat of the argument that they use with civil asset forfeiture, Wink. We have to seize this property. We have to make actually the property a party to a crime, an entity that apparently has volition. It is charged with a crime and is now being incarcerated in our bank account. Thank you very much. Only Justice Clarence Thomas agreed with the state's claim, saying, in my view, petitioners have not demonstrated that the defendants whose convictions have been reversed possess a substantive entitlement under either state law or the Constitution to recover money they paid to the state pursuant to their convictions. Since the defendants were not wrongly deprived of their money, Colorado is therefore not required to provide any process at all for the return of that money. I don't know. I don't think Clarence Thomas, is smart enough to write something like that. I think Jenny got it from Alec, and then she came back and said, put your name right here.
There you go.
He said, okay. Colorado had adopted an exoneration act that allowed, quote, an innocent person who was wrongly convicted, end quote, to file a civil suit to seek refunds, but only if they could prove they were innocent of the crime. And this is where Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg came down hard. Only if you can prove that you're innocent of a crime. The exoneration apparently isn't enough, right? Now you got to go back and prove your innocence. Well, Ginsburg said that Colorado's scheme violates the 14th Amendment's protection for due process of law because it presumes the exonerated defendants are still guilty. And Thomas goes, yeah, they are. They were arrested, weren't they? After a conviction has been reversed, unless and until the defendant should be retried, he must be presumed innocent of that charge, she said, quoting earlier rulings. Oh, no, precedent. Another one of those things they're trying to get rid of, Wake. Colorado may not presume a person adjudged guilty of no crime, nonetheless guilty enough for monetary extractions. Samuel Alito agreed with the outcome of the Colorado case, but said it was, quote, unnecessary for the court to issue a sweeping pronouncement on restitution, end quote. The court noted that new Justice Neil M. Gorsuch took no part in the case because he's from Colorado and probably wanted to argue Colorado's case. Yeah, come on, man. It's a moneymaker. And it is. Yes, Judge Curiel. Remember him? This is from the Trump University fraud case, where Trump on the campaign trail called the judge out by name, like that's going to help him in the court case. The guy kind of lives in a different world, you know? What? What's up? This is by Zach Ford out of Think Progress. Juan Manuel Montez, a 23-year-old undocumented immigrant who'd been working in the United States under the Deferred Action for Child Arrivals, or DACA, was recently sent back to Mexico, a country he left when he was just 9 years old. Montez's deportation has prompted renewed protests against the Trump administration, and now he is fighting for the right to return to the U.S. and his family. And the federal judge who will determine his fate is Judge Gonzalo Curiel, who President Trump, oops, I'm sorry, we don't use that term here. That was Radio Style book, says right there, shall not be referred to by the P word. Unless there's two E's after the capital P. Then you can.
Right.
Okay. Trump once attacked for his, quote, Mexican heritage, end quote, when he presided over the Trump University case. As with all judicial assignments, Curiel was selected entirely at random to preside over Monte's lawsuit. And this is something that Trump doesn't understand and he hates. How is that possible? Come on, when we sit down with the Dons, when we sit down with the Dons in New York, and then we sit down with the leader guys over there in Russia, and we all get together and we have our food. They get the beef stroganoff, and we have our I don't know, we have what we have, and I have my Big Mac. I like my Big Mac, and we all talk. It is beautiful, and we talk and we talk and we talk and we figure it out. And when we judge things, we judge them. How is it possible? This is the thing that with this Judge Curiel, he's Mexican, he hates me. Fuck. I'm sorry to go off as I did. Oh, that was in this reporter's opinion, by the way, to put a professional stamp on it. According to Montez, the Department of Homeland Security never provided documentation explaining the legality of sending him back to Mexico. Indeed, DHS story has already changed in the days since the news of Montez's deportation came to light. At first, DHS said his DACA status had expired back in 2015, and then they said, we made a mistake. It was 2018. But he's gone now. And they go, you deported him. And you know what? DHS came back and said, oh, no, he left voluntarily. And that is a scheme that is happening under Sessions, the Department of Justice, and the DHS. And what is that scheme? To get DACA recipients to, quote, voluntarily leave the country, or else something bad is going to happen to them until they can figure out what the hell is going on. And in many of these instances, now it's not happening with DACA necessarily, it's happening with others, right? In these situations, it turns out that the undocumented immigrant actually didn't sign away their rights and voluntarily leave. Someone did it for them. In other words, altering documents, and that's considered fraud and could put you in jail. So then they confirmed that his DACA status did in fact extend to 2018, and then claimed that he left the U.S. without advance parole on an unknown date, meaning that he voluntarily went. Montez is likely the first DACA recipient to be deported from the U.S. People enrolled in DACA, who were also referred to as dreamers, were brought to the country as children and are supposed to be shielded from deportation under the program. Did you hear that, Trump insisted that all the U.S. attorneys held over, not just from the Obama administration, but even those who've been held over from administrations before, career people, civil servant types almost, right?
Right.
They were all fired. Remember that? U.S.
Right.
attorneys all fired. Asked to step down, the guy investigating the Russians and Sessions issues and Trump issues. He, Preet, that guy, Preet, the last name with a B, right? Fired. They haven't replaced one of those, Mike. There are 200 and some odd U.S. attorneys, and they don't have one replaced. What's up with that? Is that deconstructing the administrative state? Okay, so of course, then the article goes on to talk about Trump calling Curiel a hater of Donald Trump, and it just doesn't seem wise that you would, when you're in a lawsuit, that you would attack the judge in a public forum, no matter who you are.
Not good.
And in follow-ups, Trump, doubled down, stood by his attacks. I do not feel that one's heritage makes them incapable of being impartial. Trump's statement read, but based on the rulings that I have received in the Trump University case, I feel justified in questioning whether I am receiving a fair trial. In other words, he was convicted basically of fraud, and he didn't like it. I'm not getting a fair trial. Doesn't every, what was the main takeaway in the Shawshank Redemption? Everybody in jail is innocent. Ask them.
Indeed.
Well, yep. Curiel never publicly commented about Trump's remarks, but many, including House Speaker Paul Ryan, described the comments as racist. All right. Well, feature not a bug. All right, let's get to our Jim Hightower break. We'll come back, go through the Connect, Unite, Act Daily Co's community calendar, and then the stories for the last half. You're listening to the After Show on Netroots Radio with Wink and Justice, and we will be right back.
Of all the people suffering economic pain today, who should get priority attention from the new president and Congress? Regular folks in our country say that those on the lower rungs of the economic ladder, the poor and downtrodden working class, ought to be the priority. But then, regular folks don't run Congress or Trump's White House. The Donald's working-class voters must be stunned to see that his top economic priority is not them, but a tiny group dwelling in luxury at the very tippy top of the ladder, Wall Street bankers. Rather than pushing an urgently needed FDR-style jobs program, Trump and company are rushing to aid the richest Americans at the expense of the working class, actually proposing to unleash the banksters to defraud and gouge workaday people. For example, they want to save the poor financial giants from a consumer protection called the fiduciary rule. If you've got a 401k retirement plan, chances are it's managed by a firm of financial advisors. So this rule simply requires them to act in your best interest rather than shifting your money into risky investments that pay them bigger commissions. Prior to the enactment of this ethics provision in 2015, many advisors were serving themselves, gleefully ripping off their customers, mostly ordinary working families, to the tune of $17 billion a year. This is Jim Hightower saying that's immoral, but it's real money, so the industry has been lobbying hard, but unsuccessfully, to kill the legal requirement that money advisors deal honestly with clients. Now, however, they've got a president who appreciates dishonest business dealings and is going all out to liberate them from the shackles of ethics. Hallelujah, shout Wall Street's bankers. Free at last, free at last. Thank Donald Almighty, we are free at last to gouge consumers.
If you'd like more of Jim Hightower's real populism, check out the Hightower Lowdown. Jim's monthly newsletter gives you the real lowdown on which corporations, by name, are doing what to the middle class, our environment, and our democracy. Each month, the Hightower Lowdown brings you facts you didn't know, along with actions you can take to fight back. It also comes with a sense of humor. Hightower believes we can fight the gods and still have fun. Plus, get this, it's cheap. Only $15 brings you 12 issues a year. For real populism, go to hightowerlowdown.org.
Okay, we're back.
And indeed, we are back, and thank you for sticking with us. This is the After Show with Wink and Justice. Justice here along the banks of the Rogue River and the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the West Coast. Wink is in upstate New York 21 on the East Coast. Our crew are the ethereal creatures who reside in the cloud, whose advanced intergalactic technical abilities allow Netroots Radio, and thus by extension the After Show to span the globe, the solar system, out past the Oort cloud, out past the Bridge of Stars, bridging those two distant galaxies, even out past the massive black holes that are sucking up tiny little galaxies.
Right.
And beyond that, too. The black hole, I mean, this is how dense we are, Wink. The black hole can't even suck us in.
Right.
We go beyond it. Damn.
Heck yeah.
That's what makes us liberal coastal elites. Okay.
Exactly.
Sometimes the shtick changes. And sometimes it doesn't. Today's Connect Unite Act Daily Co's Community Diary is facilitated by Paradise 50, as it is every Thursday. I told you, they're not going to get asked to come to jury duty anymore.
Right.
They found out that they went to college.
Right.
Okay, he opens up today's diary with the lies about cannabis. Huh. Sessions came out and said, and so did John Kelly. John Kelly initially said that they weren't going to target, legal pot and stuff, right?
Right.
Then they backtracked. And they came out and started doing the Reaper Madness stuff. Sessions comes out and says, that poison is a gateway. It's a gateway. It's a gateway drug. Gateway drug. I'm thinking, you know what? Jeff Sessions is kind of like a gateway to, if you're not white, he's kind of a gateway to death.
Right.
If you listen too much to him, you're going to become brain dead eventually, just listening to the guy. And I don't know, if you want to look at it, statistically, I think the gateway drugs are really the moonshine and the tobacco. And then they just pass right over the pot and go right into meth.
Right.
I think, maybe, we know all sorts of issues. Part of, was another issue that arose during the Nixon administration when they decided to have the war on drugs, is that research into pot was shut down. You couldn't do it in the United States. So then they could say, "Oh yeah, it's as addictive as heroin."
Right.
Yeah. While at the same time, they're prescribing people heroin, except they call it something else, an opioid, because it's all an opioid. Okay, it's actually a quite comprehensive diary here with graphs and science and contents. And It looks like even how to transfer the molecules of THC into a fatty solid like butter and add it to things, and then its chemistry melds with things, and the heat causes it to bond, and next thing you know, it's bake and shake, buddy, bake and shake. New groups forming. Wisconsin Cossacks are forming their group, so Cosmo Krista call it them. Colorado community will be having their Caffeinating Liberally meetup this month, and has been moved, and it's tomorrow, April 22nd, or I'm sorry, Saturday, April 22nd. And they're going to be meeting this time at Rooster Cat, 1045 Lincoln Street in Denver, a little earlier at 8:30 a.m. because the March for Science will be starting around 10 or 11. And they're just a little south of the Civic Center Plaza where the march will be held. So get a hold of Left Candid or Colorado Dem, I believe, to RSVP for that. New York City Cossacks will be meeting up on Sunday, April 23rd this weekend at Spitzer's Corner, 101 Rivington Street. Cross Street is Ludlow at high noon. Cosmail Navajo to RSVP because she will be in town. And they've got a group, quite a group showing up. New England Cossacks, of course, are having their spring 2017 Cheers and Jeers Cossack meetup Saturday, April 29th at noon at Flatbread Pizza in Portland, Maine. Cosmail and Hawks 42 to RSVP for a seat. And the People's Climate March and marches are happening all around the nation on the 29th of April. And there are links galore for all of those sister marches in one easily linked format. Oh, yes. So you'll have to go to the diary for that. And we do have links on our social media platforms in which to get to the Connect, Unite, Act Daily Co's community calendar diary. DCO's Asheville are meeting up on Saturday, May 6th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Salvage Station 466 Riverside Drive in Asheville. Cosmail Randall to RSVP. And the third annual Epic Glacier National Park meetup, June 30th through July 2nd. Cosmail, Thinking Fella, and or Ojibwa. And a diary for important planning details are linked at that listing as well. And the Netroots Nation 2017 Daily Co's annual Cheers and Jeers dinner occurring Wednesday, August 9th at 5:30 p.m. Of course, it is in Atlanta. The actual venue will be determined when you Cosmail Navajo, and then we'll get the venue. And let's see, because every day it's more. Oh my gosh, Wink! They have scores and scores, almost several dozen. All right, so that is your Connect, Unite, Act Daily Co's community calendar for the 20th of April of 2017. Oh, we live in a cloud, Wink. We live in a cloud.
Yeah. Oh, that's where all the cool kids are going to be, too, is at that dinner. So,
I keep telling people because I've made the bad mistake myself of not getting in on the list soon enough, and you can't get in. Right. And then you go, okay, well, we'll go to the karaoke bar across the street. And you can't get in there because it's packed. Yep. Then you go to like some third-rate karaoke, and,
Yeah, you eventually get to some place where you can actually get in, but yeah.
And, that's fun too, but, it's not at the table,
Right. Get on that list, yes.
Because you're not going to have Roger Stone coming over and harassing you at a third-rate karaoke place. They're going to be staking out the front door of the Cheers and Jeers.
Exactly.
They might not get in. But, okay. So, Carter Page. Boy, he's been in the news. And this is by Ned Resnikoff, senior editor at Think Progress. Carter Page is the man who first piqued the FBI's interest in links between the Kremlin and Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, according to a New York Times report. The FBI reportedly learned in 2013 that Russian intelligence was trying to recruit Page as an asset. They later turned their attention to Trump's campaign after Page came aboard as a foreign policy advisor and traveled to Moscow on a speaking engagement in July. Ever since the alleged ties between Trump associates and Russian intelligence became a matter of public scrutiny, Page has been a key figure in the scandal. Last month, he confirmed that he was one of several Trump allies who privately met with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. And that was during the campaign, of course. And last week, it came out that a federal judge had granted the FBI a warrant to monitor his communications, having found probable cause that he was acting as an agent of a foreign power. And that's what the FISA warrant is. Now, I got to tell you, it's not just any federal judge. The FISA court is, I don't want to call it a star chamber, but it's pretty much a secret court. And to get warrants is quite rigorous. There was, a joke that FISA never denied a warrant, but that wasn't always true. Especially since Bush, surprisingly. Isn't that funny? Most recently, earlier this week, CNN reported that the FBI had used the contents of the Christopher Steele dossier, a mostly unverified document drafted by a former British intelligence officer regarding Russian involvement with the Trump campaign as part of its rationale for tracking Page. And once again, I got to remind folks, we keep hearing about the dossier, and what they're trying to get into people's brains is that it's only about salacious sexual conduct. I mean, Brian Williams even last night said, we'd like to be able to read to you what's in the dossier, but, this is a family news show. There's like a couple of citations about sexual BS, and the rest of it is about meetups here and money passed there.
Yep.
Okay? To be clear. On the same day that the Times put its new information on the FBI investigation into print, Reuters reported that a Russian think tank comprised of former Russian intelligence officers had drafted, at the Kremlin's request, a plan for interfering in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Trump, for his part, has repeatedly minimized Page's role in the campaign and denied knowing him. Except he lives in Trump Tower. Like all these mobsters do. It's really weird. Carter is a red herring, not a Rasputin, Jason Miller, then a spokesperson for Trump's campaign, told Politico. Yeah, he's not a Rasputin. That's Bannon. Bannon's the Rasputin. He's never met Trump, never briefed him. He has zero influence, none. What? But Trump has used the he's just some guy, defense to put distance between himself and close associates many times before. He's repeatedly boasted of his collegial relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin, only to later claim that he doesn't know Putin at all when the camaraderie became a liability. And last week, the president bizarrely insisted that Steve Bannon, his top White House strategist and former chairman of his campaign, was not really involved in my campaign until very late. Okay. Now, I have to say, when I see Carter Page, in these public forums where he's being grilled, he seems like an idiot, It's like, what's one of the first things that you're taught when, or you're told when you're talking to a cop or a DA or anybody, right? The less you say, the better. Stop offering information. Don't offer anything. Only answer a question that's asked, right? And this guy just doesn't shut up. I'm like, what's up with that? And then I'm thinking it's all part of a whole. It sows confusion on a level.
Right.
I mean, they being, his Russian handlers could look at Carter Page's, being a foil in any fashion. And he's a court jester almost, and that can be a positive when you're trying to sow discord. But I think it's a bit more than that. Carter Page isn't really a dimwit. He's quite learned and experienced in the national security state, interning and getting grants, and so these are the kinds of people that the Russians want to make assets. Someone who can, may not be deep inside, but they go after secretaries and clerks and then work their way up. But it is curious how Trump and his crew, because this article doesn't bring it out, but I would point out, Trump in many public venues when asked, even sitting down with editorial boards, which he didn't do very often, and when he did, to give himself some sort of substance, he always invoked Carter Page's name as a national security advisor. But now he doesn't know him. Even though Carter Page not only has a place in Trump Tower, he owns a place next door.
Right.
Because that's where the Russian embassy spies live, The mobsters are in Trump Tower. The Russian embassy spies are next door. We've seen that movie before, haven't we? So 2013 for Carter Page. And I wish we would talk more because David K. Johnson has this in his work. Oh, and by the way, CNN, you didn't break any of these stories. David K. Johnson did back in the 90s. Okay? About Russian mob involvement and all that stuff. Come on. But, even before the housing collapse, during the Bush administration, way before that, it occurred when no bank would loan to Trump because he kept defaulting. So who do you go? You go to your bookie, right? You go to somebody who might be able to set up a loan, with a leg breaker. You know the risk, but you're Donald Trump, and I bet you, no reputable mob boss in New York of the Sicilian ilk would probably lend him either. He had to go to Russia. But I joke in many ways, but David K. Johnson has been reporting on these and he makes it clear it's not really just the Russian mobs. He was with the Genovese family, he was with Dapper Don Gotti. On the other hand, better than me, Wink. Even being in upstate New York, in many large metropolitan areas, to get any kind of real estate, maybe not so much residential, but certainly in the commercial real estate realm, there's some shady criminal stuff going on. One of the reasons why we never developed property in San Francisco is that there was kind of it was made clear to us right on that if we wanted our building permits to kind of, get fast tracked, that if you slipped a few dollars here and a few dollars there, it might work.
Right.
Otherwise, you wait for a year or more with carrying costs, waiting for the permits to go through, and you're like, forget that, because we weren't going to play that game. We're going to pay bribes. Are you kidding me?
Well, even commercial trade, not even real estate, just goods and services.
That's what I'm saying. We weren't even doing commercial real estate. We were just look to buy a place to rehab and flip, or turn into income property, and rent out.
Oh yeah.
And we factored how much it would cost to pay the mortgage, or and not do any work.
Right. Right.
It's like, this is crazy. So we didn't do it, and we backed out. And I presume that in New York it's fairly well established about
pretty much anything that gets traded,
you just
pack of gum all the way up.
There you go.
Basically. Yeah, there's something changing hands to unauthorized personnel, I guess you'd say. Yeah. There's some of that going on. A lot of that going on, actually.
Okay, this next article is by senior lecturer in Russian history at the University of Exeter, Matthew Rendell, and this is out of the Australian journal, The Conversation. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Russian Revolution. It began in February of 1917 and reached a climax 8 months later in October when the Bolsheviks seized power. A year of enormous significance in the nation's history, it has so far received little attention in 2017. It seems to be proving difficult for the current Russian government to decide how to commemorate or celebrate what happened 100 years ago. Revolution as a concept is something that Vladimir Putin has been attacking for years, ever since the color revolutions first emerged on Russia's doorstep in Georgia in late 2003. The nation, in his view, has had enough of revolutions. For him, they disrupt people's lives, causing harsh material deprivations with a negative impact on the prosperity and power of the states. And while Putin accepts that some countries do require serious political and economic reform, he believes evolution to be a better route. This is the path he wants Russia itself to take. Since the Arab Spring and subsequent civil wars in the Middle East, Putin has equated revolution with instability, extremism, and terrorism. And I must point out, our own American Revolution didn't just occur. I mean, these were sentiments and understandings and intellectual growth over a few hundred years.
Yep.
Until an identity of what it was to be American had been firmly planted before the idea of a revolution. And oftentimes when we see these uprisings in other areas, the idea of self-determination isn't something that has been practiced over a period of time. And part of the reason we had self-determination was just because of the technology of the time. It took months for like a police force to get from there to here to tell us to stop it, right? Or for the police force here to get word back over there to say, send us some more laws and some more cops so we can tell these people to stop it, right?
Right.
So we became self-determinate. We had to do things on our own. It became part of our character. And that's often an explanation on why democracies have such difficulties in other areas, because there just wasn't enough practice of self-determination because of brutal dictatorships or any number of suppressive ideologies. So, and I would say in many ways maybe Putin is correct, because it would totally disrupt his power center and his wealth. But it's also why he went after Pussy Riot, because that's not a violent revolution, but a revolution of the mind.
Right.
There wasn't enough order there. There was too much self-determination there. And that's dangerous. Whereas, we've always looked upon our own American Revolution in high regard. And yet we do hear the strains of like, no, we don't want any of that to happen again.
Right.
So, yeah, I can do without the bloodshed. But I think that it is in our DNA to have revolutions. We're in a technological revolution.
Right.
That's why we always hear, I just wish it would be the same it was before. I remember when reading about just, the printing press. And how governments suppressed the use of that. It was mandated that only government officials could have a printing press. So, it's got to be hard when there's this massive window in history, and they're not going to talk about it over there because has the word revolution in it. Yeah, well,
Right.
That's Vlad for you. That's Vlad. All right. Well, tomorrow is Friday, and we'll be back here bright and bushy, and more of the news cycles happening today. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm actually taken to watching Spicer's press conferences in real time when I get an opportunity. Quite entertaining in a macabre way. All right. Well, like I said, we'll be back here bright and bushy. Stay tuned for the rest of the day. We have Birch Book playing The Trip Goes On before Hartman comes up about 6 minutes after the hour. So stay tuned. That was radio 24/7, 365. And why? Well, because who loves you, baby? Okay, Wink. I will see you on the other side.
All right. We're out.